Good morning and good afternoon to you all for joining us, for making time and joining us live today to attend this webinar themed Building Personal Responsibility. We're excited and extremely happy to have you all today, and we're about to kickstart our conversation along with our expert who has joined us to discuss the strategies to facilitate personal growth and achievement within an organization. Well, I am Dikshita and shall be your host for this webinar organized by the Women in Finance and Investment Network, WIFIN for short, along with our educational partners, the CGIA Institute, that is Chartered Global Investment Analyst, ICCE, Institute of Certified Chartered Economist, Westline Co., our media partners, the FISENS and Economic 360. Now, before I actually begin this webinar, I'd like to give our attendees a breakdown of today's webinar, how it's structured. So I will first start with an introduction, specifically for those who are new to Women in Finance Investment Network. And then I shall introduce to all of you our facilitator for today's webinar. Our facilitator will take over. She has a few slides that she has prepared and she would like to share that with us. And following that, we would have a conversation about this subject. And after that, and prior to closing as well, we will open the floor to the audience to interact with us and ask us their questions regarding the subject. So without much delay, let me just give you a brief about the organization. So WIFIN, Women in Finance and Investment Network, we are a nonprofit, a membership-based organization, and we are committed to taking actions to bridge the gender gap in the finance and investment management industry. Now, it is known globally that, there is this underrepresentation of women in finance, insurance, banking, fintech, private equity, venture capitals, etc. And we are here aiming to address to this very underrepresentation by aiming at empowering women at every stage of their professional career. We firmly believe that with an increased visibility of current female leaders and professionals, the next generation of talent will be motivated to aspire to such roles. And together, hopefully, we can build a very strong interconnectivity in the finance ecosystem. WIFIN exists to give women the opportunity to receive the highest level of professional education, to build credibility, and to tap into a global network to pursue a rewarding career in the finance and investment management industry. And there are various ways that we try to achieve this goal of ours, and some of them are through a series of dialogues, the networking sessions that we have, whether it's virtual or physical, webinars, meetups, summits, and also other special programs with together with our partners. For me, as the founding president of this organization, one thing that I find highly relevant is to share with my audience, of course, the relevance, the importance of, you as a woman taking ownership of your career and, putting your interest in it. And our organization is here to provide you an opportunity to that. And there are several benefits of being a WIFIN member. Just to name a few, you are provided a global network where you can interact with members on a single platform. We are also at the moment seeking to build partnerships with organizations in the various locations that we're present, to create internships and full-time job opportunities for our members to benefit from. And thirdly, very in line with our vision and mission, WIFIN, together with our educational partners, we have introduced a merit-based scholarship scheme for our members across the world. This scholarship is offered both in full and partially for those members who wish to enroll in charter programs. We also facilitate regular workshops and capacity building programs for our members across all levels to enable them to build career ambitions and develop relevant skills required to to succeed in this industry. We have other programs which are both virtual and physical to engage our members throughout the year. And lastly, I mean, to mention the last one for now, our members also have access to newsletters and regular interviews of leading women in the industry who shares with us their expertise, their insights and journeys. So if you are a woman, a female university student, a recent graduate, somebody who has started their career already in the finance and investment space, you're welcome to join us. You will have every information about our organization, about the network on our website. So you can visit us at www.withinglobal.org. The membership application form is also available on the website. Every information is there. And in the situation that you do face any difficulty, just reach out to us. Our contact details, everything, emails are on the website. So just reach out to us and our team will be available to assist you as soon as possible. So this is it about Women in Finance and Investment Network. And thank you very much for giving me the audience as I, talked a little bit about the organization. And if you have any questions or any of your interest, just drop in the Q&A of this in this session, in this webinar, and I will try to answer them as we go on in our webinar of today. So to the subject of matter, and we're all here joined today to discuss building personal responsibility to own success, strategies to facilitate personal growth and achievement within an organization. Now, I would say that personal development or personal growth is a term quite loosely used in the business world. Employees consider it imperative to their job, while business owners and founders cite personal development as a way to advance company capabilities. But why is personal development important in the first place? Whether it's at work, within the organization, for an individual, why is it important? And if it is really important, then how are employees or how are businesses supposed to build plans, to build the development within an organization, or to devise plans that factors work agreements or virtual versus on-site employees? It asks a lot. And for me, as a millennial, ladies and gentlemen, I am amongst those individuals that consider personal development and growth to be imperative to my job. It is important. Why? Because work makes up a huge part of my life. And I believe many other young individuals, young professionals are also involved in order to learn life skills, grow their positions, and as an individual as well, to develop lasting relationships, and so on and so on. So I believe we can all understand that this conversation that we're about to have today about personal development is very critical. And it is not only critical for the individual, but it's for an organization and eventually a whole community, to see it in the bigger picture. And today we have our expert, Indira Kaur Ahluwalia. This is correct, right? Yes. She has joined us all the way from the US to discuss about building personal responsibility, where she will be sharing her insights on self-awareness and understanding the system, as well as the skills building in terms of personal, technical, management-wise, and through leadership. Please allow me to give a brief about Indra. She is a senior executive and trusted advisor with over 25 years of experience. Indra has founded, led, advised organizations, and coached leaders to strengthen equanimity, equity, effectiveness, and excellence. Previously, Indira has founded the Development and Training Services, Inc. to integrate equality, accountability, and sustainability in international development, with work in 90 countries in gender and social inclusion and monitoring and evaluation. The DTS was named the Small Business of the Year by the US Agency for International Development, by USAID. In 2015, Indira facilitated the acquisition of DTS by Palladium and started Core Strategies in 2017. Indira served as a chairperson of the Small Business Association for International Companies. She was a co-founder of the Council of International Development Companies, which was later merged with the Professional Services Council. She also served on the board of Let's Make It Possible. Indira has been active in support of organizations that build diversity and equity. She was the chair of the board of directors for the South Asian American Leaders of Tomorrow and served on the board of directors for Sikh American Legal Defense and Education Fund. Indira earned her Bachelor of Science in Psychology with distinction from George Mason University and a Master of Arts in International Relations from the University of Chicago. She was presented a certificate of multiculturalism by the Multicultural Institute in conjunction with George Washington University. Wow, Indira, powerful profile and very warm welcome to you. We are extremely glad to have you with us today, and thank you for the opportunity for Women in Finance and Investment Network to host you on our platform.
It's such a pleasure and honor to be amongst a powerful young woman who's changing the world. From the time that we've connected, I have looked at you for inspiration, and I am so impressed with how you give of yourself to make opportunities in life better for others. If only we could all be that way. It's really a pleasure to be with you and an honor to be with your group. I am truly grateful. Well,
thank you very much. Indira, the platform is all yours. Take over, share your insights with us. Yes.
I will do my best, and I will try to engage all of us working on this platform together to think with each other, to think deeply within ourselves. Our goal when we talk about personal responsibility is to start with a place of self-awareness. So we have to look at the mirror in front of us, and see what we see in ourselves, to figure out where we want, what box we're in, and whether that box is right, or whether we want to open up the lid and be free to live to our full potential. And then think about how we take our personal responsibility to lead to the dream that we want to make a reality. So with that, I will share my screen, and let me know if you see it. We're good. Well, let me do this and go to the next slide to get us started. You're going to see an image if I do this right. And just as we get started, I'd like our participants to look at this image and tell me how many triangles they see. I might have to just take it off the full screen so I can see my, sorry. So I maybe, Nikita, you can see what people put in the chat, because I won't be able to see the chat. So
yeah, I'll be updating you on that.
Wonderful. People can write in how many triangles they see. Do we have any takers?
6 by Pushita.
Nice. Anybody else? It's always hard when I put you on the spot as we get started.
Kenneth says there are 9 triangles.
9 triangles. I know everybody's working hard to answer the question I have put in your mind. And as you look at this, you can see how you can see the triangles shaped in different ways. I've told you what to think, and I'll give you the answer. The answer is that there are no triangles. If you look at it very carefully, there's the illusion of the triangles and multiple triangles, but there's no line connecting the triangles. And so how does this happen? Ultimately, our brain, as we look at an image or we see millions of pieces of information, it's said that our brain tries to process 11 million pieces of information per second, sitting where you are. However, our brain can only consciously capture 50 pieces per second. Of those 50 pieces, we can only process 7 pieces. Now think about what we just did. I told you what to think. I asked you how many triangles there were, knowing there weren't triangles. I led the brain to a perspective of consciousness that made us think within that box. Our brain is also working neurologically to fill in what's missing. The wiring is connecting based on guidance. We're also getting guidance from our social stimulus. Very often we look at the sociocultural messaging we get to answer the question, and we work really hard to do it right within the context of what we're providing. Now, ultimately, what this leads us to understand is that there are unconscious bias over and above neurological conditioning and social behaviors that we're taught. Apparently, there are about 150 implicit biases. And I'll give you an example of one, agenda bias, especially given the audience and our purpose. Think about a truck driver. Now, in your mind, what is that truck driver with? What is the gender of that truck driver? Typically, we will see a male. Now, when a woman goes to apply for the position of a truck driver, we've already decided what the image of success for that truck driver is. So that's the gender bias. There's also what's called the attribution bias, which is where we perceive how our actions are and how the perceptions of others' actions are. We think that we got the A in our paper that we submitted in school, or we got the accolade for the work we did. But if you're thinking about it from a school paper, when we were all in school, I got the A, my teacher gave me a C. So it's how we consider ourselves. I start our discussion from this perspective of understanding our consciousness, understanding our programming, and understanding how we're trained to respond and try to strive within the box where the question keeps us. So the challenge I had is, how do we build personal awareness? How do we understand what our own biases are that we hold about ourselves, that we hold about others, that we hold about our future, what we hold about our potential? So when you think about it from the perspective of bias, work in your mind the image of a successful person. What does that person look like? How old is that person? What gender is that person? Where does a person work? Where does that person work? Now stop. Does that person look like you? Now stop. Is that person you? When you see the image of a successful person, do you see yourself? So what are your biases that say, look, I'm not necessarily going to see my full self. I'm going to see myself through this programming that I have. From that bias, let's go to your self-imposed constraints. We see ourselves from our limitations. We see ourselves based on what we have experienced, others in our position have experienced. So think about it in terms of your self-imposed constraint. Where is it that you see your capacity? Where is that feeling of your success? What is the degree to which you think you can be successful? And then let's look at how you see your potential. You work very hard. You're taking time to build your own knowledge, your network, your understanding. You want something. You see some value in who you are and what you want to do. And that's what's pushing you, no matter the struggles. What are your dreams? What is really important to you? What is it that you want to achieve that you can give yourself the freedom to see without any filters? So write that down. Take a quick note for yourself and say, in this moment of freedom, in this moment of full choice, I want to be, I am. Take ownership of your success. When you write something down, you're making a commitment to yourself. So as you write that down, and write what comes in your mind. Don't have to plan it, don't have to make it right or wrong or evaluate or judge it. Let that come from within. As you look at what you define as your potential and your success, let's determine your ambition. Now, I've been using this reference of a box. So typically a box has a ceiling, and the ceiling is lower than our potential. Let's blow the ceiling. All right, whatever you chose as your ambition, know you can get even beyond that. Know you can go beyond that. Know that you have the potential, you have the capability to push your ambition from one ambition to the next, to the next, to the next, where you're beyond any ceiling. Have that degree of desire and have that degree of confidence in what you choose. What is that soundbite where you build your brand? If you're in an elevator with somebody and you have the 6 seconds to prove your worth to this very influential person that you've been trying to get a meeting with, what in 3 or 4 words would you say about who you are? You look at your potential and you create your 3 or 4 word soundbite. You would write that down as well. You have 6 seconds. You have very quick moments to leverage your moment. Now, as you see yourself without filter, as you see yourself with confidence and with hope, and you see yourself in how you're presenting yourself, let's talk reality. There is bias. There's just no 2 ways about it. We've all experienced it. We all have acted on it. We also have just seen how our consciousness works. So, there is no quick answer to resolving bias, The reality with the bias is that you don't have role models. You have to push through barriers. You have to keep proving your worth. You have to be able to see your worth to be able to prove your worth. You also have to understand what that box looks like. And that box is that system which is managing your potential and your return. What is the needs that box has? What is it that will create a gap that you need to address? What is it that, what is the intel this organization needs? What is the expertise this organization needs? What is the morale that this organization needs for the people to work to their highest potential? What is the network that this organization needs? So if you look at yourself as an individual and you look at yourself and the system as another entity, you're working on yourself, you're building your self-awareness, you're building your self-worth, but you also have to recognize what the needs of this structure is. And then what is the marriage? I get the filters are based on bias. I get that the world is not fair. You also have an obligation to be the best of who you are and learn how to work the system. Now, the system is going to pay attention to you if you fill a gap that that system needs. So what is the return on investment that you will bring to the system? Any system, it doesn't matter if there is cause, if there is profit, if there is fairness, if there is success, if there's failure, there are gaps. Your role is to figure out what in your system of being an individual, an expert, can fill the gaps of this organization. What is the win-win scenario? What is it that is unique that your best self can bring to the organization? Not only do you have to bring it, you have to deliver it. So you have your potential, you have your sound bite. What is the third part of this exercise is writing down what you can deliver against a gap that you see in your field or in your organization. Sometimes it's tangible, sometimes it's a product, sometimes it's a network, sometimes it's a value of creating respect and harmony. So there are, as I said, multiple ways that you can fill gaps that organization needs to have filled for the organization success. So as you write that down, and you've got an assessment of who you are, what the organization is, what your unique value is, then you have to negotiate. And then you have to deliver. And then you have to negotiate. And then you have to deliver. And there's this ongoing cycle where you constantly fight for every step. You constantly and continuously and respectfully stand up for yourself. You deliver and you work at it again. But that's not enough. In many cultures, we're not taught to take credit. We're not taught to say, this is the gap I fill. This is how I can continue to support you. We're taught to be humble. Women are taught not to get in front of the organization and say, this was me. There are ways with respect for who you are, for the system you're in, for the culture you belong to, that you can still respect yourself. Respect for yourself is very different than what the organization or the culture may tell you. How do you negotiate that power for yourself? There are different ways in which you can show yourself, because you have to keep showing up in different ways. You have to be current. What initiatives can you take? What can you follow through with? Who are the allies you can build? The allies are people in your choir, in your community, in your organization, on your teams, who will say, Dikshita did a wonderful job. I would like to work with her on this again. That positive buzz will negotiate your power for you. Who are the mentors that you have called and reached out to and said, I have respected the way you have charted your journey. This YFIN has created a platform of role models you can work with. How do you reach out to them and say, show me the way? Who can I call you when I hit a wall? So right now, Write down 3 things. How will you show up different than you've been showing up? 1 thing. Who is an ally that will speak on your behalf? Who is 1 mentor that you're afraid to reach out to, but will help you open doors? So when you build self-awareness, you're ultimately building your power. And power is a beautiful way of self-expression. It's trust in yourself. It's knowledge of all your elements that make your potential whole. It's also recognizing that you will have to work and prove yourself with confidence, but you use a network to uplift you. So from personal power comes accountability. From personal power comes the capacity to take responsibility. Nobody, no matter what they say, the mentors and the allies, is going to do it for you. You're the one who has to show up. People can lift you up and push you forward, but it's your confidence that will tell people how to treat you. So choose how you want people to treat you. You have that right. Not just in the way you work, but also think about your nonverbal cues. Where do you sit in a room when we are in a room? When you're on a Zoom call, are you on camera? Are you engaging? Are you multitasking and looking elsewhere? Or are you looking into the speaker and speaking directly to the people you're communicating with? What are the nonverbal cues that show people you are confident? The second aspect of taking personal responsibility to reaching and achieving your potential, in my mind, with humility, is interpersonal relationships. A lot of what we do is, business or progress is going from point A to point B. The tangible aspect of that is very different than making that process worthwhile. It's in the intangible where you build your relationship. It's in that intangible care you give your coworker, how you show up as an ally, how you show up as a mentor, how you maintain your professionalism at all times, without defensiveness, with expertise, with respect. It's critical because that's what the impression is that you leave, even more than your work. I've often said to my kids that, if you show up in class and you engage with your teachers, your B+ can become an A- because they know you're making the effort. Technical. Whoops. I did something that I shouldn't have. Let me go back in and find my screen. The technical is just as critical. That's the expertise that we're talking about. That's where we're talking about what is it that you're bringing to the table. That's that tangible piece of paper. That's that product you're going to leave on the table. So that means you have to constantly keep working on it. You have to constantly keep improving. In addition to that, you have to keep adding something new because times haven't stopped. That means you have to push your boundaries, and your product of that self, of that technical capacity, has to be cutting edge every cycle. You also have to manage, whether you're managing one person or you're managing an organization, or whether you are managing your work. Management to me is tactical. It's the management of work. It's making that linear progression from A to B work so that things happen on time with quality. But it's also coloring within the lines. It's following the rules. It's understanding the system. It's understanding then how to use the system to make it stronger. Leadership is different. And again, whether you lead a team or you're leading yourself, are you seeing yourself as somebody who can influence impact? The moment you see yourself as beyond creating a product and as having influence, because your ripple effect is going to influence others, whether you're a leader or your team member. So if you act as a leader with confidence, with professionalism and care, with expertise, with understanding what the rules of the game are, you have the opportunity to work with a blank sheet of paper to create influence to make that product more effective. So with that, my sense of personal responsibility is twofold. It's this capacity that you have to fulfill your own potential, but also to make the organization succeed. Regardless of the bias, regardless of the ceiling that holds you back, your choice has to be whether you're under the ceiling or you see yourself above the ceiling. And above the ceiling, you can see the full potential of what you can bring to the organization. So I challenge you to think of yourself with ultimate respect, with ultimate care, and to nurture what is true to you, because that's what's completely unique to you. And combine it all to become the brand, to become the leader, to become the success you envision. So with that, I will thank you for the opportunity to share.
Thank you, Indira. Wow. Okay. This was actually interesting. A lot of your questions, I actually wrote it in my notebook, and I'm like, okay, they are questions that are supposed to be answered, and they should be. And I think these are questions I'm going to carry when I also speak to other individuals as part of what I'm out here doing. I think from our conversation, from your insights, one thing that I get to understand is a lot of time when we talk about personal growth, right? You can have mentors, you can have people cheering for you and pushing you forward, but most of the time it's only you and you, right? So you are the one building yourself, and as long as you want to, or you are invested in yourself, you would do it. My question to you is, I believe many individuals, even though they have the mind that I want to do it for myself, but they do questions like, can I really do it? Am I really able? Can I reach the end, the goal that I want to? So my question to you is, this is self-doubting yourself. So how do we manage that?
Doubt is incredibly real. And doubt is what we allow ourselves so we can be safe.
Mm.
When we're safe, we don't have to risk what we already have. We don't have to push beyond our boundaries to see what we're exposing ourselves to. So if we recognize doubt as a defense mechanism, if we recognize doubt as an intentional, self-imposed constraint, we can hold on to it, or we can say, okay, let me take a small risk and prove to myself what I'm capable of. I'll give you an example. I have been living with advanced breast cancer since 2007. The doubt that I would have life was immediate and stays with me. But does that stop me from wanting life, from having a full life? to fulfilling my potential, to being there for my children. It can if I allow it. So my perspective is doubt can walk through it. Don't stand behind it. Don't let it control you. Use it to build caution if that's what you need to. But don't let it disable you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, self-doubt is an issue, whether you are starting your career with or you've been in the industry for years. I know people talk about it, they suffer from it. So you've rightly said, and I hope our attendees have heard that very well and they take it into consideration and put it in action in their real life. So moving on with our conversation, Indira, I have this thing here that I did write earlier. A growth mindset is what we're looking at. And amongst employees, it's not only important for their own personal growth and resilience, but it's also critical for the long-term revenue growth and ability to attract the best talent out there for the institution, the organization. So according to you, how do you work the system? How do you make things happen?
That's the fundamental question, right? How do you succeed in a system that has not been designed for you to succeed, right? Or a field that's not used to having you succeed. You know, I've taken the opportunity to believe in myself. I think that unless you feel you have something to offer, the game stops there. Because there is the 9 to 5 routine per se. You can go in, you can move from one task to the other. You can get paid, you can go home, you can come back and start again. And you get to the status quo of, you know, there's so many fights to fight. Which fight should I fight? And sometimes it's not apparent that you're going to win the fight. When I started DTS in 2002, a while back, I knew there's nothing novel to this approach. I knew that I had to do my part to build equality. I knew that women were underserved in the development sector. Women were, you know, we see the women from Africa and India typically in all of the development pictures, but the programs that showed these women as pictures didn't look at how to design programs to benefit women. So even as we were looking to build a business, my perspective was, what is that unique lens I bring to an age-old problem? Right? The challenge is finding what is unique in your capability, finding people in your network who you can communicate with, people who can motivate you, people who can advance you. So I saw a question about being in a status quo and from the audience as well, similar to how do you still maintain a growth mindset when you're held in your position. So in that scenario where you know your potential, where you don't have the advancement opportunity or the system doesn't allow the advancement, you've got a couple of choices. You've got to see whether you want to hold on to your job, right, for the sake of what it brings you. But how else do you demonstrate that you're worth more, that attention needs to be paid to you because of a client you brought or a new product you improved? So I think in a lot of ways, it's incumbent upon you not to give up. And once you hit that feeling of what that organization is going to allow you or not, you've expanded your network, you've shown up in different ways. If that doesn't work, keep your job while you look for another job. Never give up your income. Make sure you end it well. And it's also easier to negotiate once you have the confidence that you can get something somewhere else.
Yep, that's correct. We should be good negotiators of our life, especially when income is concerned. Okay, moving on. I think while as we've been discussing, identifying areas for personal growth.
I lost you.
Sorry, I muted myself.
I've done that.
I'll just move my cursor out of the mute button. Yeah, so as I was saying, we've been discussing about, identifying the areas for personal growth and defining a path for yourself to build on them in order to have significant effect on your career. Now, I'm asking this question from an employee's point of view, okay? How can we, or how do we set personal development goals for work on a short-term and a long-term basis? Like, how do we do it as an employee?
Now, I think there are some organizations that work with the annual appraisal system, which allow you to set personal goals, which evaluate you against both your current performance and also discuss with you how you can achieve your personal goals. The larger organizations certainly have a lot more metrics, they have a lot more capacity to build a human resource potential. There are other organizations that are mid-sized or even smaller, where you might just get through the appraisal and you might be able to discuss once a year with your boss what your performance is. There are other organizations that are so much in the trenches that the focus on the individual is much less, for the individual employee is much less than on the organization's viability. So in these different scenarios, it doesn't take away your own ambition, your own desire to grow, particularly as you're growing in your career. So there are informal and formal means in each of these different types of organization that you have to employ. Before you get to the formal and the informal means, you've got to set your own personal goals. Because when we're doing the rut of the routine and we're not motivated, we're not getting inspired by the organization, we're not getting a ladder left down for us to climb up on to succeed, we stop believing in our own personal goals. So regardless of an organization, to hold yourself accountable, you should have quarterly goals. If that means I'm going to show up in a networking scenario, I'm going to write a white paper with a colleague that we're going to publish in a journal. I'm going to have a meeting with 3 mentors every quarter. What are the very specific physical tasks that you can assign yourself to get to a goal? So you have a goal. What are your 3-5 steps per quarter? Once you have that, you need to start talking to your supervisor informally, right? Because as I say, many of these supervisors don't have the time to focus on it. You have to be able to go in and say, I really want to get 15 minutes of your time. I'm going to put it on your agenda because I want to be successful for you. Then you reference your own personal goals, recognizing how it'll value the organization as well. So I think it comes back in a system which is not inviting for you to keep pushing open the door and asking for those informal conversations. And if you have success, if you have the capacity to say, I met with somebody, I wrote this paper, find a way to share.
That's actually true. Very insightful, Indra. Thank you very much. I would say we have 9 minutes now left for our webinar. So I think we should open floor for our audience and take a few questions from them and, you know, conclude on this discussion that we've been having. Before I start taking questions from the audience, just quickly in the chat box, if you could drop in where you're joining us from, I'd be very grateful for that. Very quickly, let's take like 2 minutes and do that. I see a few of our regulars. By the name now I can recognize. Yes, so we have Mauritius. Thank you for joining us all the way from Mauritius. Hello, we've got Lisa from Botswana, Anil from Mauritius, Edem from Ghana, Anita from Mauritius. Welcome, you're all welcome and very happy to have you all. Ishta from India, Aina from, okay, she's Malagasy but based in Mauritius. Mauritius, Ghana. Okay. Thank you to the attendees. Hello, Nishma, for making time, and I really hope that our discussion today has been insightful and you've taken a lot from it. Actually, the conversation had a lot on us as an individual. What can we do for ourselves? So I wish you all take the most out of it. So ladies and gentlemen and Indra, let's move to the Q&A. Let's take a few questions from our audience. If you've got questions regarding the subjects, just drop it in the question and answer box and we will answer them as we proceed. We already have 2 questions. They're both from Anil. Anil asks, does the quest to grow inside yourself increase with age or decrease, assuming that you hold the same position in your organization?
No, I'm 53 and I haven't figured out what I'm going to do when I grow up. And I think that if we have desire to be a part of this world, to serve in this world, to contribute to our family, it always keeps us looking ahead at where we can contribute. And I think I found that working in one organization isn't everything. I think that as human beings, we get fulfillment from different tangents and different avenues in our life. And while we must continue to succeed in our organization for the return on the investment we bring the organization and for our own ambitions, I think that what we do outside the organization can also help motivate us.
Okay, I'll take the follow-up question from Anil. How do you grow in a 9-to-4 public working system mindset?
Yeah, that's a hard one. I mean, and that's that rut I was talking about, right? I mean, you're just churning. You're not thinking, you're not excited, you're just fulfilling the day's job. And so you need to find what sparks your core, which is not always your day job. You know, I often tell young people that I mentor coming out of college particularly, think about a career as a combination of the jobs you've held in your life. Your job pays your rent. Your job allows you to fulfill your technical skills. But with the different ways in which you go from one job to another, and I understand millennials have more of a turnover than people who've been in the job market longer, there's more opportunity to find excitement. If this job is not fulfilling, I'm not suggesting you leave a job, but recognize when you've reached the end of your potential at that job, or if that job is not going to give you what you want. And if you find that you cannot negotiate your power and potential, if you feel you must keep your job and do the 9 to 5, then 5 to 7 may give you a different association like Wi-Fi, where you come in and you motivate others, or you work within a network.
Yeah. So to those working in a 9 to 4 public working system, use the 5 to 7 to find what you feel like is worthy of your time. Use your time. Indira, I think I would like to ask for your thoughts on the relationship between personal growth and employee advocacy. What do you think about this?
So self-advocacy, or for the system of employees?
No, well, we can take it as the system as well, but I was asking, like, self.
So how do you advocate for yourself?
Yeah, an employee.
As an employee.
Yes.
And so, typically we don't see ourselves as employees as having control, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's a infrastructure that has been created for a purpose that is about the organization's success versus our personal success. Now, and I'll be honest and say, even maybe I shouldn't, but even in those organizations that really promote employee growth, and they're large and they have a lot of money they can devote in the employees' growth, are they seeing you? Or are they seeing employees as a mass that they have to empower? So when you're doing advocacy, what is your cause? You've got to have some purpose you're doing the advocacy for. Right? And it cannot simply be for more money. It cannot simply be for your next position. That could be a result of your advocacy. But your advocacy has to go towards a benefit you bring to that infrastructure, because you're only a cog in that infrastructure. So for you can either be the squeaky wheel, which can get attention, but that's negative attention, right? And we do that much better than we be the productive part of it, where we learn to advocate for ourselves. And I go back to what from a cultural perspective, or from a gender perspective, or from an employee perspective, we're not allowed to shine. And so how do we give ourselves the permission to bring glory to ourselves, our passion, our work, a very unique contribution? I think that an organization is successful where one person can make the difference. It's not just the leader, it's the concept of that team member seeing an issue and alerting the right people by bringing it to fruition. It's by one person seeing the potential of another team member and saying, hey, if we work together, our product is so much stronger. So you both have to advocate for yourself, but you also have to advocate for your allies or your team. And then you have to have something you're bringing to the organization for you to get attention, to be valued, because it's investments, right? It's not personal.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Indira, thank you very much. 1 hour gone, just like that. Yeah, it went really fast, but thank you very much. This discussion is something that our attendees, our members should hold dear to themselves, because it's about them. Building yourself, your personal growth matters to you and the community that you reside in. So thank you for bringing these insights to us and sharing with us what you feel, you know, we should hold very dear. And thank you to the attendees as well for making time and joining us. I know you all are from different time zones, so thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm grateful everybody's using their 5 to 7 and giving us their time.
Yeah.
I value these conversations deeply. Forgive me if I have said what I shouldn't have, or my goal is really to honor the light that each person has, and in that light, see their success. So I wish everybody the very best. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been great to have you on Women in Finance and Investments platform. We look up to you. Indira, I would like to say this to the attendees. Indira is available on LinkedIn. So do connect with her. She has an amazing profile and a lot to follow. She is very active as well. So get connected, everyone. Thank you, Charles. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Indira.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.